Everyone is absolutely obsessed with AI right now, right? I mean, we're watching software evolve at literally breakneck speeds. But here's the thing, almost no one is paying attention to the massive physical wall the hardware is about to slam into. Traditional silicon chips, the very things driving this entire digital revolution, are just, well, physically running out of space. And our data centers, they are burning through mind-boggling amounts of power just to keep up. So in this explainer, we're diving into a company that will either define the entire next decade of technology or completely disappear trying. Seriously, what happens when classical computing hits its absolute physical limit? You've probably heard of Moore's Law, the historical trend of computing power doubling every 2 years. Well, that is slowing down fast. Combine that slowdown with the massive, frankly unsustainable energy demands of modern AI data centers that are already straining global power grids, and, well, classical computing desperately needs a bailout. We urgently need a next-generation architecture to solve problems that traditional supercomputers literally cannot handle. Imagine trying to map every single molecular interaction of a new pharmaceutical drug, or discovering next-generation battery materials. For those kinds of tasks, even the absolute largest AI supercomputers would take thousands of years. The math is just way too big. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly where quantum computing steps in. Now, I want to clear up a major misconception right off the bat. Quantum computers are not just going to suddenly replace classical AI. That's definitely not what's happening. Instead, quantum computing completely rewrites the math. Instead of processing information sequentially as ones and zeros, it leverages quantum mechanics to process massive, insanely complex variables all at the exact same time. The industry actually envisions quantum as this hybrid coprocessor. Think of it like this. A classical AI supercomputer handles the standard workloads, but the second it hits an impossibly complex bottleneck, it instantly routes that specific problem to the quantum processor. And the absolute kicker? It does this using up to 80 times less power than today's top supercomputers. It's a total paradigm shift for energy efficiency. Which brings us to Rigetti computing. Now, what's really fascinating here is how Rigetti is actually building this stuff. The historic bottleneck for this entire industry has always been scaling. Like, how do you build a bigger machine without the whole system just crashing from instability? Well, Rigetti's massive breakthrough is their proprietary chiplet architecture. Instead of trying to build one giant, highly error-prone quantum processor, they manufacture these smaller, highly stable 9-qubit chips, and they just tile them together. It is literally like snapping together high-tech Lego blocks. And this isn't just some theoretical physics experiment in a basement. They are loading actual, tangible 9-qubit chips for assembly at Fab 1, which is Rigetti's own captive manufacturing facility. They are controlling their own destiny right from the silicon up. So, the crucial point is how this hardware actually performs out in the real world. Rigetti focuses specifically on the superconducting method, basically using extreme cold to create frictionless electrical pathways. Now, in quantum computing, the two metrics that matter most are gate speed and fidelity. Gate speed is just how fast the computer processes an operation, and Rigetti achieves blistering 50 to 70 nanosecond gate speeds. To put that into perspective, that is roughly 1,000 times faster than competing quantum modalities like trapped ion technologies, which focus a bit more heavily on baseline accuracy and coherence. In this massive race to achieve practical quantum computing, having that incredible raw speed is a huge, huge advantage. Let's look at how this actually translates into their current hardware reality. This incredibly fast in-house manufacturing engine, it's turning into deployable hardware right now. They've already rolled out their 36-qubit system, their 84-qubit Ankaa 3 system, which, by the way, successfully halved their error rates, and they just recently hit a massive milestone with the general availability of the 108-qubit Cepheus 1 108Q system. And crucially, these machines aren't locked away in some secret vault. These systems are available right now on major cloud networks like Amazon Rocket and Microsoft Azure. They are literally making real quantum power accessible to anyone right now through the cloud. Understanding how these massive technical leaps actually hit the open market is exactly why we built the Future Ready community. If you're enjoying this, hit subscribe to join us as we explore the companies shaping our future. Okay, so now let's pivot and look at the financial reality of actually building this tech. Part 1, the deep tech paradox, R&D versus commercialization. Building the future basically requires you to bleed capital for years just to build a moat. But when you actually pull up Rigetti's ledger for Q1 2026, you see a really stark picture of this transition happening. On one hand, revenue jumped an explosive 199% year over year, hitting $4.4 million. This was driven primarily by sales of their Novera systems. These are physical quantum computers they are actively installing on premises at major academic and government institutions, like the University of Saskatchewan and India's C-DAC. This completely proves they can move from lab progress to actual paying customer deployments. However, and this is a big however, that huge top-line acceleration is completely eclipsed by their cash burn. That $4.4 million in revenue is sitting right next to a massive $26 million quarterly operating loss. Now, sure, their official earnings report might show a positive net income on paper, but you really have to strip out the accounting noise and complex stock warrants to see the truth. If you look at the true underlying business, they generated a sizable operating loss, spending nearly $20 million on R&D alone. So make no mistake, this is not a cash machine yet. This is a company in heavy investment mode. So you might be wondering, how on earth do they survive that kind of development phase? Well, this brings us to arguably the most important number in this entire explainer, $569 million. That is the exact amount of cash equivalents, and short-term investments Rigetti is holding as of March 2026. And, crucially, this is huge. They have absolutely zero long-term corporate debt. None. In an era where deep tech startups are getting totally crushed by the cost of capital, having an ironclad, debt-free war chest fundamentally alters the entire risk profile of this company. It gives them a massive operational runway to execute their roadmap without forcing immediate, painful equity dilution. And really, you have to be able to read the balance sheet just as well as the technical papers to spot the real winners in this space. If you enjoy decoding these kinds of deep tech financials, hit subscribe to Future Ready and join the community. Part 2, the quantum battlefield. The race for supremacy. The market for early quantum research is an absolute knife fight right now. Comparing Rigetti to their main pure-play rival, IonQ, gives us a perfect snapshot of this technology war. So Rigetti relies on a vertically integrated full-stack model. They tightly control their own physical manufacturing at Fab 1 to get those lightning-fast superconducting speeds we talked about. IonQ, on the other hand, runs a cloud-first, asset-light model using trapped ion technology. That literally means suspending atoms in a vacuum with lasers, which is wild. But it's a classic engineering trade-off, right? Rigetti offers manufacturing control, speed, and scalability, while IonQ boasts high precision and coherence, but at significantly slower speeds. So let's quickly lay out the bull case for Rigetti. First, they are perfectly positioning themselves for this hybrid AI future by supporting Nvidia's NVQ-Link. This is essentially a lightning-fast data bridge that allows for low-latency connections between their quantum processors and traditional AI supercomputers. Second, they are actively de-risking their scaling with massive government backing, including a huge $100 million investment initiative with the UK government. And finally, the technology is actually working. They've achieved a staggering 99.9% 2-qubit gate fidelity on prototype systems, proving they can maintain accuracy while still capitalizing on those blistering gate speeds. But to be totally objective here, we must present the unvarnished bear case too. The federal government is a huge client in this space, and Rigetti recently suffered a really heavy blow, losing out on Stage B of DARPA's quantum benchmarking initiative to their rival, IonQ. Furthermore, there has been some concerning insider selling. The CEO and CTO sold over $15 million worth of their own stock combined in mid-2026. And of course, there is that relentless R&D cash burn. If they fail to get their error rates down fast enough, that $500 million runway will eventually hit zero. To avoid that bear case, Rigetti just has to execute relentlessly against this specific timeline. They already delivered the 108-qubit Cepheus system on time. By the end of 2026, they're targeting a 150-plus qubit architecture. But the real holy grail, the absolute game changer they are marching toward right now, is deploying systems with over 1,000 qubits by 2027 and 2028. That 1,000 qubit mark is widely considered the ultimate threshold, where true fault-tolerant commercial advantage actually begins. Hitting that target on schedule is basically the entire ballgame for them. Watching to see if they can actually hit that 1,000 qubit milestone is going to be absolutely fascinating. If you want to track this massive race and stay ahead of the technologies shaping our world, make sure you subscribe to Future Ready right now. So, who will actually power the post-AI era? Ultimately, analyzing Rigetti comes down to a race between incredible human ingenuity and an accumulated deficit. They are attempting to engineer some of the most complex machines in human history. The science is absurdly difficult, and the competition is absolutely ruthless. Rigetti has the speed, they have the architecture, and they have a $500 million fortress to survive today. But can human ingenuity outpace an evaporating bank account to literally conquer the laws of physics? Leave your thoughts in the comments, drop a like on this explainer if you found it valuable, and let me know which deep tech company we should break down next.